Welcome to From Head to Heart and Home. This is the channel created by women, empowering women to take intentional action in creating the life they want, with your hosts, Carla Center, subconscious healer, and Shanda Ceretti, certified coach. We're so excited to have you listen in on our conversation today. So hello, Carla. How you doing today?
I'm great, Shanda. How are you? I'm so excited for this, us getting to share with other women and just exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Same for me. I'm full of butterflies this morning because this is our first time meeting for this amazing project that we've decided to create together. So for everybody listening and watching, what we really want to do today is just kind of set the tone for what you can expect with this channel. And today we're going to start off by introducing who we are, because you get to understand what we do, why we're doing it, and all of that goodness. So Carla, why don't you go ahead and just tell us who you are, a little bit of background, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Hi, I'm Carla Center. I'm a subconscious healer. And what is a subconscious healer? So what I do is I help you release different things, traumas, blocks, all of that. And I've been working with social work since I was 17. So for a very long time. And I have been certified in multiple things: tapping, coaching, subconscious healing. And I work with women to help them get out of their own way, out of survival, into the life that they've always wanted, to feel that joy in life instead of that, oh my gosh, can I make it through today to tomorrow?
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Beautiful. Love it. So powerful. So that's Carla. I'm Shanda Ceretti, and I'm a certified transformational coach, many other things as well, but I like to lead with that one. I really focus on supporting women who have trauma. There's someone who is struggling with events from their past, and they're feeling stuck. They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling very unsatisfied with their life. So I team up with them and I really support them along their healing journey so that we can really change things for them and they can step into the life that it is that they think and want to be living, right? That life that they dream about. So we really get to make that happen. So in a nutshell, that is what I do. Like I said, I have multiple certifications as well. And what I would love to do as well is share a little bit about our background, right? So what kind of brought us to where we are today, right? As a healer and as a coach, why are we doing this work? So I'll start off.
Okay.
So for me, this has really been born out of personal experience, my own past traumas, and it's really been a journey where I've kind of gone along blindfolded, right? So I learned something going through a leadership program around staying in the step that you're in. And I think this is such a beautiful example of that because, rewind 15 years ago, I would not believe you if you would have told me that I'd be standing here as a coach today. My life was very different. So a little backstory. So, I grew up at a very young age, had my own traumatic experiences, and they really left an imprint and a mark on my life and how I started showing up. So very young, I noticed I had control things happen, like with food specifically. Then as I got into my teen years, I started to dibble dabble with, drugs and alcohol and nicotine and stuff like that. So what happened for me was I really ended up opening up this gateway of addiction. And so I used food, I used drugs, and all those things that I mentioned to get through life, right? Things were really painful. I felt very alone, very isolated, and stumbling across this type of work was what really helped me kind of come out of that. And it's so fascinating because it was almost like something that just instantaneously shifted, right? I love saying that there's this thought around it takes a long time to make a decision to change. And I like to kind of go up against that and saying it's not that it takes time to make the decision, but it takes the time to build up the courage to make that decision. So it took me years to build up the courage and the strength to be like, hang on, my life is a bit of a train wreck. I'll be totally honest. And, step back from that and be like, what part do I have in this life that I've created for myself? So my own personal exploration and journey led me to wanting to help others, right? Support others in their healing process. And it's honestly been such a beautiful journey, over 10 years for myself and coaching for over 5 now with clients, and really in the coaching world. So Carla, tell us your experience, tell us your background. What brought you here?
So mine started with childhood stuff, and there were multiple different things that happened to me as a child, but the thing that got me to start working with others to become a healer, I had sexual abuse as a child, and then there was this group of teens that did a play when I was 17 years old about reaching out for help, keeping yourself safe, and all of that. And it inspired me when I was 17 that I wanted to become some kind of healer. Like, I wanted to become a psychologist. That was my original dream, right? And I was the girl who achieve to be worthy, right? And so that's where I was. Like, I was in all the achievement back then, and I was doing little things. I volunteered for a nonprofit that helped. I worked on what was called a helpline. So people would call me, and I'd have, people that needed resources in the community that were suicidal, all of that. So I did that starting at 17. And then the thing is if you don't do healing, you continue to self-sabotage. So, and I did go to a counselor that wanted me to put boundaries. And let me tell you, I was too terrified of boundaries. What would that do in my life? So I didn't go. My mom actually brought that up the other day. This counselor called me and said my kid wasn't showing up to the appointments. Well, what she wanted me to do didn't feel safe to me unconsciously. So I didn't do it. So I was a teen parent, and I did go to college. I did get my psychology degree, and then I did social work. So I did social work for years, but still I didn't have the boundaries, right? And so I can say to you that if you don't do all of the things you need to do to make yourself, to deal with your traumas, to keep yourself from bringing in new traumas, that you wear yourself out. And I realized that I was exhausted every night, and my children, in my opinion, were suffering. I wasn't the mom I wanted to be. So I quit doing social work. I would just do church women's groups and that sort of thing. Like, so for 33 years, I have always been involved, but not to the capacity that I always dreamed of, because I didn't want to really do the things I needed to do for me. And like Shanda, I used food. And that was a thing. That was, if I was stressed, like, bring on the chocolate. I had kidney stones from drinking too much soda, right? Because that's how I had my energy to get through the day, because I was so exhausted from doing all the things. And so by the time I was in my mid 40s, and I'd had all kinds of health problems. I had rheumatoid arthritis and depression. I had dealt with some serious suicides in 2020 in my life. People I love so much chose to leave this world. And I was in this depression, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to even live my life. Like, I had always, when I would be depressed before, I used my children as the excuse. And so I came across the subconscious healing that I use to get the deepest with my clients. I came across that and got rid of the anxiety I couldn't get rid of, and just all the different things that happened with that. And so I'm like, I get to do this for other women. I get to help them get out of this space where they feel like, I don't even know how I'm going to make it through today, much less tomorrow. So how am I supposed to have this joyous, beautiful life, right? And so that's how over the last 3 years, I got to this is my life. My life is dedicated to making a difference in the world for other women the way that it has been made different for me.
Mm, I love that so much, right? I can just feel the love and the vulnerability in that sharing. And it brought up a few things for me. I remember being younger, like as far back as I can remember, being absolutely obsessed, not even really knowing why, but being obsessed with self-help. And I love bookstores. If I was ever step foot in a bookstore, you would find me in that section still to this day, right?
Right.
I look at my bookshelf and it's predominantly self-help books and I just love them. So a few differences though was that back in the day as a teenager, I used to read those chicken for the soul, chicken for the or chicken.
Chicken soup for the soul.
There you go. So I used to read those, and that was kind of really my first kind of dip into that type of literature, right? Was really that, hey, like there's different ways to look at this, because these were real people's stories that they were sharing, and they shared such vulnerability and such, like just crazy things at times, but they always had some sort of positive spin on it after what, and they got to walk away with this newfound perspective. And I just enjoyed that so much. So this obsession with self-development, right? And wanting to kind of heal myself and work on myself, what happened was through that journey, right? Working on me, trying to figure out me, trying to learn about me, I ended up landing and falling into my calling. So there's a lot more backstory to it than that. But essentially what happened was I kind of always went through life not really sure of what I was supposed to be doing, right? I always second guessed myself. I would think it was this for a bit and then no, maybe it's this, right? So indecision was a big part of my day-to-day life in a sense. So I ended up working lots of different types of jobs, but the one thing that they had in common was that I was always working with people, right? Whether it was in the hospitality or the service industry, and then later on in business. So anyways, I ended up working with my dad, and he owned a company at the time. And the idea was that there was succession planning. So I was going to take over this family business. And we were at that, we were a few years in. And then one day, like a ton of bricks, this thought landed on my lap. And I was like, uh-oh. And it was, are you doing this for you? Or are you doing this for him?
Right.
And in that moment, everything kind of crumbled. And I was kind of left standing, like, I don't know what to do. I wanted to people please so bad and just continue with this journey that I had set out with him to fulfill that, to not let anybody down. But my heart knew that there was something different for me. There was something more that I could be doing, right? A bigger capacity. I could be showing up in a bigger capacity. Sorry,
Right.
tongue twister. So anyways, what I did was I decided to just step back. I decided to keep the thought to myself because I was like, okay, if it's not this, then what is it? And I couldn't answer that question. So that's what left me feeling uneasy about it. I'm like, if it's not this, then what is it? So I stepped back, kept it quiet. And then I started binging webinars and trainings and anything that was free online to like just kind of expand my horizon and my awareness as to what's even available, right? I kind of had an idea that it would be in the healing health side of things, because for me that's where my journey started. It started on the health side, even my certifications. So finally one day, I think we were 2 months into this thought that I had been meandering and stewing over and mulling over, and I was like, okay, I know what it is. It's coaching. I didn't even know what coaching was, but I found it, and in that moment I knew exactly this is it for me. So I got to let go of feeling like I might disappoint somebody or let somebody down, and trust that following my heart was the right answer for me, was the right thing for me to do. And since that day, it has been, absolutely, it's been a gift. I feel so blessed doing what I do. And so kind of like you shared, Carla, who or why I do this work is for myself, right? That's kind of where it all starts. So it started with myself. And I'm a mom now, and my son, he's 8, and he's a big part of why I do what I do. And because, with the type of work that I deal with, there's a lot of generational trauma too that gets passed down, unknown to parents, right? Unknown to family. And I've decided that it gets to stop here. My trauma is not going to be passed on to my son, right? It's not his responsibility to take that on and heal that for me. I get to do
Right.
that work. And then the next step further is like what you had mentioned as well, other women, right? Other moms, other teens, other women who are just struggling. Like maybe it is that they don't know what they're supposed to be doing in life. Maybe they feel super unfulfilled and disconnected. So that is a big part of why I've stepped into this beautiful role as coach in facilitating healing with other people, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And, you know, it's, I love that you, even though you didn't know that you need to give yourself space, that that's what you did, because we don't always realize that we don't have to know the answer.
Mm,
That while we give ourselves that open space to explore, which was something I wasn't good at doing. So it had to come smack me in the face, right?
yeah.
Like it had to come smack me in the face that this is what I need, because I would, like, I wanted to love on everybody. I never wanted anybody to feel unloved, unimportant, all the things that I felt. And what you don't realize when you are in those spaces, when you're like out being the people pleaser and taking care of everybody else, that it really starts with yourself, like you're talking about. Like we can we can be as kind and loving as we know how to be, but if we don't heal ourselves, we are passing that on to our children. And I love that you saw it early. I didn't see it early, and the more that I worked, in the last 3 years, the more that I saw what I pass on to my kids. And it's always been, do as I say, not as I do, is the saying. And it's
Yeah.
not true, right? They, even if they don't intentionally follow after you, you will see them choose relationships like you do, make choices. And you, I mean, when you have children, like, the hardest thing is to see them hurting. And when you see them hurting because they've made the same choices as you, because that's what you modeled for them, that is such an aha moment of like, oh my gosh, what am I passing down? What am I sharing? And, you know, for me, it was not only healing it, but going back to them and admitting. I've gone to my children multiple times and said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong. You do not give until you have nothing left to give and you're suffering. That's not so. The beauty in what we do is that we give ourselves space to find what we need, like you and this. I mean, Shanda's incredible, incredible coach. And you you allow that space, and the beautiful things that come from it as you allow yourself space to find your healing, to find your place in the world, that really gives you that joy and stuff. And not like, I can't because I have all these, because we can always find the excuses, the resistance to keep us in the space that's comfortable, because that's where we've been at.
Hmm. Yeah. That what you just said, that last part reminds me of like one of my favorite quotes, and I believe it's Tony Robbins. If it's not, I'm sorry. And what he says is, if you can't, you must. And that, speaking of the resistance piece, right? We come up against these challenges and these walls, and we think that, oh, it must be a sign from the universe that this isn't right for us. And it's like, no, it's a sign from the universe that this is exactly what you get to work on next. This is the door you get to open. But in order to open the door, you have to do the work to open the door, right? It's not a automatic sliding door. It's not just going to open for you, right? Sometimes you
Right.
get the key, don't even know where the doorknob is, like, okay, don't know if it pulls or pushes, right? Sometimes we're pulling and it won't open. It's like, oh, it was a push. Okay.
Right.
So I love that so much. And again, you guys, I know, Carla, thank you so much for commenting on my coaching. And Carla is a beautiful, powerful healer. So if you guys are looking for an experience that will honestly change your life, then she's the coach for you for sure, the healer for you. And I love something that you shared around the answers will come, right? Something huge that I got to learn through this process was trust. And let me tell you, that is a big loaded word, because trust to me now means so much more than I thought it meant before. And I didn't know how little I even trusted myself until I started out on this journey. So I got to learn to trust the process. I got to learn to be okay with not having all the answers right then and there, right? I got to slow down and kind of look around, be a little bit more present in my life. And that has been a big game changer for me, as well as something that you mentioned around apologizing. Okay. So everybody who's listening, please listen to what I'm about to say. This journey is about progress. It is not about perfection. So it doesn't matter if you've been on this journey for 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, or a day. Okay. There is always work, healing to be done, because the further you progress, the more things that you start to realize and are then able to shift from that new perspective. So I still, and we all do, still have moments where we may have shown up or acted in a way that isn't aligned with the person we want to be, right? We may have said something that offended somebody. We may have hurt somebody's feelings. We may have snapped, right? We may have been triggered momentarily. We may have acted out. So that does happen. And like I said, with my 8-year-old son, there are still moments where I act in a way that is reactive instead of being methodical or in alignment. And I get to apologize, and I do it instantly, right? It's one of these things. And I never used to be able to do that. I was too proud, right? Like, even if I knew I was wrong, there was no way I was going to admit to it. I would just kind of hermit myself and like clam up and hide in my little shell, right?
Mhm.
So apologizing when it's appropriate to do so, right? And even to yourself. We're
Right.
so dang hard on ourselves. Okay. So
Yes.
let's breathe for a second. Let's let that go and just know that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to act out, but let's own it, right? And let's correct our behavior and kind of steer the ship in the direction where we actually want to go. So one last thing I'll say on that is the mantra that I live by specifically around this is be the person today you'll be proud of tomorrow, right? So it's like you're really acting from a future self, a future version, the person you want to become. You get to live
Right.
that today.
Right. It's not, well, when this happens, then I can be that person, or when that happens, I can be this person, which, we can so easily get into, well, until this happens, I can't be that person. Until this happens, I can't. The same with, I can't have this life until this happens,
Mm.
always waiting for something more to come in. And as you were talking about the being wrong, I was thinking about when we had the thing, you can either choose to be right or choose to be happy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because when you dig your heels in to be right, you don't see the other person's perspective. You don't see your part you play in it, because in every relationship, every situation, you play a part in it. You always do. And if you are so bent on being right, you can't see the portions that you need to heal either the relationship, heal yourself, or whatever. Because when you're dug in about being right, you're in, like you said, in that shell. You're like, and all you can look at is all the different ways that you're right. And that's the only information that's going to come through to you, no matter what information is floating, the possibilities, only the ones that prove you're right is what you'll bring in. So I love that.
Mm.
They are like, yeah. And you
Yeah.
apologize to yourself, because we are our
Yeah.
biggest critic. Like,
Oh my gosh.
you could write down all the self-talk that we can have
Yeah.
is like outrageous.
Yeah. There's I think it's 70 to 80,000 thoughts we have every single day. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. That's insane, right? And that's also the difference between living a reactive type of lifestyle where we're living in our triggers, we're living in our trauma, we're living in our past circumstances and situations, versus being able to take ownership of exactly what you said, which I love so much. What's your part in this? We have a part in the life that we are living today is because we have chosen it.
Mm-hmm.
Stay with me here, guys. We have chosen it. Whether we have chosen it out of a place of desire or a place of fear or a place of not wanting something, right? So like counter manifesting. We create it to provide us with the things that we actually want. So here's a big question for you. Your life is the proof of what you're willing to tolerate, right? So what are you willing to tolerate? Just look at your life and you'll see it. Just put all the cards up on the table. By the way, that's probably another big step that I had to do, was be honest with myself. And I'll be honest with you right here and now. I didn't like everything that I saw when I laid my cards down. I was like, oh no, let's just cover that. Let's just push those aren't there. It's like, no. So for me, I would say the biggest part to a healing journey is being able to do what contrary to what I just said. I call it something called parts work. Okay. We have many, many different parts, right? We have the happy part, the frustrated part, the angry part, the sad part, all the different parts, the sassy part, the funny part, whatever. And what we tend to do is we try to sever and cut off the parts that we don't like. And we try to pretend that they don't belong to us, but we aren't one individual part. We are the accumulation of all the parts put together. So when you reject and try to push away those parts, that is why you feel a disconnect with yourself. You're not accepting your whole self, and it's painful. And that's what trauma creates, right? That disconnect. You cut something off. Maybe you were a really funny kid, and somewhere at some point somebody said, you're too loud, you're too obnoxious, you're too this, you're too that, and you shut down. So then from that point on, you might try to cover up that side of you, right? So those are kind of how those patterns really evolve and play a big part in our lives as adults when we're not doing the healing work around them, right?
Right. And that's how you learn to play small, as they call it, how you stay in these little boxes, because that is what you learned as most of the time as a child was safe for you. If you speak out, if you're too big, if your light is too bright, then you need to dim it down and be this. For me, it was the quiet, smart girl, right? You cut off all the parts that are anything but that. And when you stray, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. That's not, because your subconscious mind's like, that is not safe. What are you thinking about doing that? And when somebody asks you to do that, you're like, that's not me. When really it is you, this nagging thing inside, you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I like to refer to it as stepping into or stepping back into reconnecting with the unfiltered version of you, right? The version of you that is authentic to its core, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it might upset other people, because that's about them, not you, right? We know we're gonna talk all about this type of thing, right? This type of mindset and this way of being. Carla and I will really share that over this channel. So if there's ever anything that you guys are like, what are they talking about? First of all, I would really recommend you guys drop comments in the comment section, so we can come back, answer your questions. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, like, let us know, right? This is, we are creating this channel for you. It's our gift to you. So the more that you can provide us with, the more questions you bring, the more topics you bring, the more that we're able to kind of really cater this for your needs. Okay.
Right.
So why don't we share, since we're kind of on it right now, why are we creating this channel, Carla? What's the purpose?
So the purpose is we really want to share all of the tools and just everything that we have. We just want to be at service to other women to just bring you to that space from where you are feeling unfulfilled, like you're just surviving, to come home, to come to your heart, to just be, like Shanda said, your unfiltered self, that beautiful, amazing light that is you. Not all of the things that have happened to you, that people have said to you, that have put you in this box, in this cage, and kept you from the beautiful, joyous life you were meant to have, that you crave.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And to add to that, the life that you're not allowing yourself to experience,
Yes.
because it might sound so simple, but that is what it is right now. Currently, whatever life you're experiencing, it's because you're not allowing for the things that you want, and we'll teach you how to allow those things and create space for those things. So yes, this channel is really about sharing our experience, sharing what we've learned, are the tools that we've learned and kind of acquired over our journey. I like to call it like our toolbox, right? Of all of the different modalities and ways to kind of move through things when they come up, as they come up, and really creating a sense of community and a sense of connection. That's what this is about, right? You're not alone. No matter what you have experienced in your life, you are not alone. And especially as women, over the last 60 years, 70 years, we've really been taught through society to disconnect from other women, right? I find nowadays women don't have, we're getting better, we're definitely growing here and improving, but we don't have that sense of camaraderie that we used to, right? That sense of family. When you think about how people used to raise their children, even it was, the saying was, it takes a village to raise a child. And we're not even connected like that with our neighbors or people in our own neighborhood, right? In our own community, our own backyard. So the whole idea is, I mean, the name of this channel says it all, right? From head to heart and home. So we want to encourage you and support you in moving out of living in your head, which is where all your stress and anxiety and overwhelm and unpleasant experiences come from,
Right.
and move into our heart and live our life through our heart so that we can come home again, right? And feel whole and feel connected, first of all, to ourselves and then to the people in the community around us. Yeah, I love it. Okay. So what we'll do is we're just going to kind of wrap up with what you guys, as the viewers, as the audience, can expect from us. So we're going to be releasing videos every week on this channel. So you can expect some new content once a week, guaranteed, from here for until we decide that we want to shift and create something else. Okay. So this is going to be a weekly conversation that you can tune into. And our promise to you is really to show up authentically and vulnerably. Okay. We are going to share from our hearts so that you can start to understand, first of all, that it's okay to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable doesn't mean what we're taught it means necessarily, right? Vulnerability is a power. It's a superpower, right? Being able to open up and share some of the most intimate details and thoughts and feelings is a beautiful gift that you can give to the people you love and care about in your life. Creates really deep connections. It creates amazing healing, and it will transform your life. So Carla, is there anything that you would like to add to what they can expect from us or what our promise is to them?
No, you covered it all, it beautifully. And we're going to show up in our authentic self, because we don't expect you to learn how to show up in your authentic self if we're not going to show up. So you can always count on that from us.
Yeah.
You can see, we're not just sharing to just share and script stuff and all of
Right.
that. We are here from our hearts, not from our heads, 100% from our hearts, sharing with you because we want you to be able to do the same.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. And I'm so glad that you brought up that last part around not scripting anything. These conversations, Carla and I, little backstory here, we met in a leadership program last year, and it was like love at first sight, right? And we have been connected ever since. And, it's like such a beautiful experience when you can find such a best soulmate friend through your healing journey and through these types of, I'm going to call them containers, but experiences or channels or groups, right? And so we have committed to this for you guys, and we've also committed to showing up in a way that is ourselves, right? That is true to us, that is from our heart, which means you guys bring us a topic and we will talk about it, right?
Absolutely.
We will share our deepest understandings and experiences around these topics, and hopefully that it'll allow you to maybe gain a new perspective, or expand your courage to want to step into this type of healing journey if you haven't yet, or maybe you've been doing this for a long time and you kind of feel stuck. We want to empower you to keep going and give you new energy, like a new sense of energy to take it further, right? And maybe shake things up a little bit. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. If this resonates with you, if you like this, then first of all, I would say thank you for listening to our conversation today.
Yes,
and I would invite you to keep tuning in. Okay. So before we close this conversation today, Carla, is there anything else that you would like to add?
no, that was
Okay.
awesome.
Perfect. So I just want to close by saying today I want to encourage you to step into trust, right? That's a big word. Like I said, just sit with it, see what comes up for you, and go from there. Okay. So thank you for tuning in to our channel, From Head to Heart and Home with Carla and Shanda. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, click that subscribe button so that you get all of our notifications, and be sure to join us next week for another authentic, connected conversation. All right, guys, bye for now.